Hi everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. Something a bit different today. I'm here with the Inclusive Irons in very trendy Hackney, far too trendy for DJ Russie B, that's for sure. At the 50 Years 3 Pioneers event, celebrating the 50th anniversary of West Ham becoming the first side in the English Football League to have fielded 3 black players in their starting 11 with Adi Coker, Clive Best and Clive Charles. It's an evening full of live video links apparently with Adi and Clyde, hopefully. We've got loads of music, we've got Football Black Pioneers guys. They spent their whole most of lockdown actually categorising every one of the league 92 league teams in terms of their first black players, so check that out. We've got the let's all have a disco guys, the guys who do the Heineken bar. We've got them here. We've even got Gary Firminger, former Overland and Sea seller. He's going to be doing he's been doing a live reggae set, so I'll try and record a bit of that. Obviously can't play the music because we get demonetised. But anyway, hope you enjoy it. Something a bit different, and speak to you later. Hopefully we get Lee and Apu on as well, so that'd be nice to talk to us about the importance of the event. Bye-bye.
We've written a book about the first black football that they featured the 92 Football League sides, and it really has thrown up lots of interesting stories, and it's also thrown up lots of surprises as well. And one of the big surprises was really that how much West Ham United have done for black footballers and for black history without receiving the credit that we think they've deserved. So tonight I hope we're going to try and redress that. In writing the book, we came across a lot of misinformation. We came across players who told lies. They're dead now, so I can say that. But yeah, people who just talk blatant lies. A lot of players exaggerated their achievements. So we needed a lot of research to make sure what we wrote was accurate. And a lot of players forget. They're not like normal people. I mean, if we played for our football club, we wouldn't have forgotten our debut. My goodness, every minute we'd remember. Viv Anderson didn't remember his debut for Nottingham Forest, and yet it was at Sheffield Wednesday. There was lots of crowd trouble, completely oblivious to it. And when I got talking to Viv, because he's a great bloke, he wrote the foreword to the book, very, very nice man, very intelligent. He started thinking and he said, I know I was the first black player to play for the full England team, but I think I might have been the first black player to score for England. And I said, no, Viv, you weren't. He said, no, I think I was, because it was against Yugoslavia. And it was still called Yugoslavia then, so it must have been ages ago. And I thought, well, I'll be polite, and I'll say, well, I'll check, Viv, I'll check. Anyway, I went away and I checked. And inevitably, I rang him up and I said, look, Viv, you thought you might have been the first black player to score a goal for England against Yugoslavia. I says, that wasn't even the first goal that Viv Anderson scored for England. He'd scored for England 2 years before that. So, it just shows that, he played 700 games, so why should he remember every single one? But the big myth that we came across, I reckon if you asked any average football supporter who was the first club to play 3 black players in the same side, they're going to say West Bromwich Albion and the 3 Degrees. Laurie Cunningham, Cyril Regis and Brendan Batson. And in fact, I read a book only Sunday, I think it was, written in 2019, where a very learned academic had said that in 1978, West Bromwich Albion played 3 black players, the first time that had ever happened, and they're trailblazers for every other club in the country. Well, West Ham played 3 black players 6 years before that. Clive Best, Clive Charles and Adi Coker, and that's who we're celebrating here today. So why do people think it's the 3 Degrees and not the 3 Pioneers? Because it was big news in 1972. Bobby Moore wrote in his column the week after the match, we created a milestone, we had 3 black players, and he explained that this is not really unusual in the East End. Very cosmopolitan, we welcome everyone, we're a very welcoming community. So it was big news in 1972, but by 1978 somehow it had been forgotten, and West Bromwich took the plaudits for being these trailblazers. And what's really ironic is that when West Ham played their 3 black players, West Bromwich Albion had never played a black player in their entire history. And again, in the context, West Ham with their 3 black players in 1972, 40 Football League clubs had never ever played a single black footballer. I mean, it's hard to imagine now, but that was the norm. You know, before the 70s, black players were very, very rare indeed, but not in West Ham. Just go back to the proud history. The first black footballer for West Ham was a man called Fred Corbett. He was born in West Ham. He actually played for Thames Ironworks, who were predecessors to West Ham. And he made his debut in September 1899. Don't think anybody was there. It was away to Reading, and he went on it the next season. West Ham, Thames Ironworks became West Ham, so he played for the first West Ham side. Played about 38 games, I think scored 15 goals, and that was at a time when only 2 black players had ever played in the entire Football League. So West Ham are already got a black player when there are hardly any around. Fred Corbett went on to become the first black player for Bristol City, Brentford, Gillingham, as well as West Ham. And just moving forward a little bit, Jack Leslie is another great piece of West Ham history. Yeah, Matt's going to sing about Jack later, but yeah, Jack is a hero. Jack was born in West Ham, lived in Canning Town, never played for West Ham. He played for Barking, and his career was spent at Plymouth. He played 400 times for Plymouth, and in 1925 he was picked for England. That was big news. It made all the newspapers, and he was going to play in Ireland in October 1925. And when the game came around in Ireland, Jack wasn't there, and he'd been dropped. And it could only be because the selectors or someone had discovered he was black, so he wasn't allowed to play for England. He was fit, he wasn't suspended or anything, he played for Plymouth that very same day. So, you know, Jack Leslie, a great piece of West Ham history, and what's very, very odd and poignant really is that after he retired as a riveter in the shipyards, you know, where footballers got normal jobs after that when they're retired, he was bored, and his daughter said, "Why didn't you go down to Upton Park and see if I've got anything you can do?" So he went down to Upton Park, and I think it was Ron Greenwood said, "Why don't you work in the boot room, getting the boots ready for the players, you know, getting them in great condition?" So I think it's lovely that Jack did that, and actually he would have got the boots ready for the 3 pioneers, and I think there's something really, really nice about that, you know, that he. And what's even nicer still is he's going to get a huge, beautiful statue in Plymouth very, very soon. And you know, he got forgotten during his career, but my goodness, we're making up for it now, and he certainly has earned it. Jumping ahead again, John Charles. Charles family are here yet, are they? Yeah. Oh! You know, I come from the northeast, and they're called the Charltons royalty, you know, football royalty. To me, the Charleses are football royalty. Chief so much. Clive Charles is one of the 3 pioneers. I'm going to talk about John now, because this is another thing about the myth. Very few people know that John Charles was the first black player to represent England at any level, and he did that on May the 20th, 1962. So if you think this anniversary's worked, we could have another one on May the 20th to celebrate the 60th anniversary of John Charles becoming the first black player to play for England. He wasn't just the first black player to play for England, he was the first black player to score for England, because he scored on his debut, which was a real rarity. In 142 games for West Ham, he only scored twice, and yet on his England debut, he scored a goal.
Peter right there, score.
That was prolific for West Ham, wasn't it? And the records just keep tumbling out. He was the first black player to captain a club to a major trophy. He captained West Ham youth team to the Youth Cup against Liverpool in 1960, 62, 63. Yeah, he was the first black player to play for West Ham in the league. Fred Pugh played for them in the Southern League, but John Charles played for them in the First Division. In fact, every single game he played was in the First Division. He never played any lower than that. So, you know, to me, John Charles is just like, you know, a hero. And, you know, we need to shout his name from the rooftops as much as possible. So, we've, mustn't forget, we're here to celebrate 3 players here: Clive Best, Clive Charles and Adi Corker. But let's not forget the people that made that happen. Ron Greenwood, for example, made that happen. He was very quiet. He wasn't like Ron Atkinson, who invented the 3 degrees. I think that's why the 3 degrees might be remembered. Ron Atkinson was a very flamboyant man. He got the 3 West Brom players to dress up and sit with the 3 degrees, the female band from America, which some of you will remember, some of you might not. That wasn't Ron Greenwood's style at all. He just got on with it. But Bobby Moore's column the week after the 3 pioneers, he just said, you know, this is normal. You know, we are a very, very diverse society in the East End. So I think you should be very, very proud of that, West Ham supporters. Very, very proud of the fact that you've helped make that happen. That players feel welcome, or felt welcome in the 70s when they weren't always welcome elsewhere. So, you know, let's just hear it really for the 3 pioneers in particular: Clive Best, Clive Charles and Adi Corker.
What I'd love to see actually going forward, because you think about black players now obviously in the Premier League and black players in the Pyramid. 40% of players pretty much now in the Premier League are black, which is brilliant. Those 3 role models started that. What we need to kind of do now, and I'm not going to moan tonight, I'm not going to go on to anything negative, but our next challenge is South Asian players. Because South Asian players and players from South Asian backgrounds are in exactly the same situation as black players were back in the 60s, and we've got to change that. That's our next battle.
Yeah, so my last point is, you said about that, and look, you're from, you know, Kick It Out. You know, we understand what Kick It Out's about. Why do you still have to be running this campaign, even though we've got 40% of the players in the Premier League are black? Why do we still need to have campaigns like Kick It Out today in 2022?
Well, that's that. So this week's been quite prominent actually when it comes to the I don't know if you followed this, but online. Everyone will have seen the online hate that the 3 young men experienced, black young men experienced on the back of the Euro campaign. You know, what's probably less common knowledge is that Facebook, you know, we talk about the fact they take down hate, they take down so many pieces of hate, etc. Every single second of every single day, a racist comment is posted on Facebook. The bits that they take down are a fraction of the volume of the hate that goes onto Facebook, that gets through to different people, not just professional players, but players of all levels. That's one aspect, and I hope I'm trying to be really positive tonight, but it's quite difficult in the context of where we're at as a nation and Europe. So why have we got to kind of keep fighting? Because hate's worse than it's ever been, in my opinion now, in 30, 40 years. I think we got to a place in the 90s where we're far more accepting of each other, far more celebratory of each other, and I think Brexit's taken us back to a place where, you know, we thought we'd never see again someone in this room, you know, back to the 1970s, and the 3 guys we're celebrating tonight, I think will be standing up with us tonight and fighting, and kind of saying, actually, we can't let ourselves go back there. So we absolutely have to fight, and just bringing that specifically back to football, you know, some of the reactions we get to things like young players taking the knee, people who want to. I've never spoken to a footballer yet who says that taking the knee is anything other than a demonstration against discrimination. Never, has a footballer mentioned to me anything about blackish, anything political at all. It's about fighting discrimination, and yet we still get booed, and players still get booed at various grounds in the country. And lastly, I'll just say, you know, stats. I've spoken about South Asian representation. What I've not mentioned yet is management. You know, again, the 3 players. Had those 3 players that we're celebrating tonight wanted to go into coaching and management, they would have experienced exactly the same challenges they experienced when they were breaking through into the playing career. And the fact that we've only got Patrick Vieira still, and last year it was Nuno, and I'm sure that next year there'll be another black manager, but there will never be 40% black managers in the Premier League. We're going to ask ourselves why. And all those tropes about it's because they don't want to go into management, it's nothing to do with that. It's because racism in our boardrooms is still really prevalent in football. So we've come a long way, and the 3 players that we celebrated tonight helped us break down some massive boundaries. But we're still starting. The fight's beginning. It's not finished by any stretch of the imagination. So we've got a long way to go. I'm not even spoken about misogyny and LGBTQ plus stuff. So when we get into that area, it's a whole different realm. Women's football is brilliant, but some of the hate crime we see and some of the hate we see around women's football is horrific. So hopefully we can help make a difference. But yeah, I want to celebrate tonight because 3 players made a difference.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. So we're here with Lee from the Inclusive Irons. What a night! What a night!
Absolutely. Really, really chuffed with how it's going. There's a nice lot of people in there celebrating a really fantastic course. So really chuffed.
Yeah, and it's important that we do these types of things, and this is sort of the first event really for the Inclusive Irons as a brand, isn't it? Really, so it's important they went well as well.
Absolutely. So we've been going a couple of years now, but we were severely curtailed through COVID.
Yeah.
Just exactly
Keep going.
we first formed. So really, this is our first opportunity to really get out there and do something really productive and something worthwhile. And it's coming off nicely. So I'm incredibly proud of everyone involved and for everyone coming. So
Definitely, and we've had guys from Kick It Out here. We've had the guys from the Football Black Pioneers book. Bill, did a great little speech as well. And it's like, and obviously we've got the Charles family here as well. It's how it should be, shouldn't it? Really, it's how it should be.
absolutely. I think one thing that when people talk about the West Ham way, for me the West Ham way is about family. It's about bringing people together, fighting adversity and celebrating our differences, celebrating when things have gone well. And for me, all of those people you just mentioned, they're the epitome of West Ham. And we wouldn't be the club we are without people without those people. So
No, exactly. And I mean, you know, also it highlights how progressive West Ham were as a club. You know, obviously we've always had that slight tag of not being progressive, but as you said, you know, as Bill said, you know, 1899, the first black player, first team to field 3 black players. It should be celebrated as well, really.
I think so. I think whether it's the East End or whether it's West Ham United, I think we've always been an inclusive club, an inclusive area where we really allow everybody to come and flourish, and that's none more so than at West Ham. And whether it's Clive Charles, Clyde Best and Adi Coker, I think it just sums up what our club was back in the day and what we are today.
Yeah.
They were the pioneers, and 50 years since that momentous day when we beat Tottenham in 1972 on April 1st, just shows you how far we have come. And I think you're quite right, Russ. I think we've come a long way since then, and we were setting the standards back in the day, and I think we're still setting the standards now. And I think
definitely.
the tags that we get put on us are incorrect sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think definitely. And also we've got Joe here from Pride of Irons and stuff as well. So yeah, that's, you know, obviously that's another challenge as well. And as you know, as we said, the guy from Kick It Out says, you know, LGBTQ plus, you know, that's the next barrier. And also management. He made a really good point. The fact that Vieira is the only black manager in the Premier League. I didn't really think about that at all. Didn't really think about that.
And I think one of the things we need to do is inclusivity and people's rights within football, within society. If that's your bag, I think we have a collective responsibility to fight each other's cause. And yeah, so it's nice that people like the Pride of Irons are here supporting us. And I think in the bigger picture, I think as long as we're all supporting each other for whatever issue is, I think we'll get there eventually. I think we will get there.
And more importantly, are you going to Frankfurt?
I'll be in Frankfurt. with or without a ticket.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I will be there.
Yeah, I know. Saw the flag at Lyon, so I saw the pictures up at Lyon. And obviously this is the first of many events now, so as you said, we found a cracking little gaff really. So, you know, and the guys have been really welcoming at Grow as well. So it sort of fits well. It just works, doesn't it? It's working.
I think it's a little bit out of the way, a little bit different.
Yeah.
But once you get to know it, what a fantastic thing it is. That's a little bit about us, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just like West Ham, really. It's actually, you know, he says a little bit off, a little bit way. But I mean, even seeing Gary here from Overland and Sea fame, you know, it's like it's like, you know, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, man.
Gary's done me a favour really, because obviously those that know Gary, when we moved to the London Stadium, it weren't for him. But one thing that I've known Gary for many years is that he's really one love. It's about everybody, bringing everyone together. And Gary's always been about that, and he's done me a favour by coming here tonight. He's going to do a reggae set now because that's his bag these days. He loves his music, he loves his reggae, and he's going to do us a fantastic set. I'm pleased and proud that he's here supporting us.
Brilliant. And if anyone wants to check it out, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Inclusive Irons, all the information's on there about the great work that they do. So,
and everybody's welcome. Don't matter who you are, where you're from, or who you represent. You're more than welcome with us.
Nice to meet you. I just want you just tell people what you're doing here and how much it means to you to be here tonight.
Honestly, everyone, right, I don't say this very well, I have done over the last couple of years, but growing up as a kid and knowing that the old man played for West Ham and he'd done quite a remarkable job, and no one ever heard of him outside of the little community, and even, I don't know, for years and years and years, it was just the forgotten guy. But thanks to people like you, you've really sort of made him remembered a little bit, and I'm getting quite embarrassed now.
No, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, for years, because I remember when Viv Anderson became the first black guy to play for England, and there's no denying it that he's officially documented as the first black guy to play for England. But I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I didn't understand it. And I said, Dad, did you play for England? He went, yeah, I did. And I said, but what's going on? He went, no, he knew the difference, I didn't know the difference. But for years and years, for 40 years, nothing's happened. And for now, where situations changed a little bit, it's nice. It's nice for me and my family to have people like you guys to say, do you know what, he's made a bit of a difference, because he was the first black guy to ever put a shirt on, play on the pitch for England, scored on his debut, he even replaced the captain. Right, I'm not saying he was the captain, but I think he was. Right, I might be wrong there. But I grew up with this, and it's forgotten. And especially with Viv Anderson, I'm not knocking him because he's done well, where he said in his documentary that I had 2 telegrams from the Queen, one from Elton John and one from the baked bean, like the Queen, and my old man got nothing. And you know, for people like you, well, thank you. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. But
Well, no, actually, I'm going to say that because not long ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was talking to an old West Ham fan, and all of us always get together. We chat banter from 100 years ago, from recent times. It's always going on. And he said to me, yeah, I used to love it when Andy Coulter and Clive Best was playing at West Ham because they was the first black people to play at West Ham. Now, I go to, nah, mate, John Charles was the first one. He looks at me like, nah, never. Thank God for Google, because at the point I went, look, and he went, I never knew that. And there's lots of us in this community that do know that. So to spread the story far and wide, I think it's what to do. And we're really proud of the legacy that he's given us. And
do you know what? Before that, I'm not knocking him down a bit, alright, but I do know there was another guy who played from Thames Ironworks into West Ham, right? And my old man, it's questionable he was either the first or the second, right? But he was definitely the first guy for England.
He's a pioneer, mate. He's a pioneer, and you should be very proud of the achievements that he's done, as we all are.
Well, thanks everyone.
Of the Football's Black Pioneers book, who not only has written an amazing book and gave us a great introduction, he's been insanely helpful to the Jack Leslie campaign, of which I am one of the co-founders. Jack Leslie was born in 1901 in Canning Town. He played for Barking Town, now Barking FC, was signed for the mighty, sorry, I'm a Plymouth Argyle fan, although I'm trying to wear West Ham colours, it's all I can. He was a genuine footballing legend. He played for Plymouth Argyle for 13 years, he scored 400 times, he scored 137 goals, and he became captain of the club, almost certainly the first black captain of a professional side. So a true pioneer of the game. But the reason his story has come to light is because in 1925, he was selected for the England team to play Ireland. He was named in the press, and then before the game, his name mysteriously disappeared. And questions were asked at the time. If you go to Jack Leslie You can find out a whole raft of information about the campaign, but also an article by me and an article by Bill telling the whole story. So you can read it in full. It's fascinating and tragic that it even happened in the first place, but also, like the story that we're celebrating tonight, has been ignored for so many decades, and we, the campaign, are trying to put that right in the little way that we can, and we raised money to build a statue of Jack to commemorate his achievements, to celebrate him as a player, but also to remember the injustice that befell him in 1925. And that statue will be erected and unveiled later this year outside Home Park in Plymouth. But his West Ham connection is not just because he was an East London lad. He also worked for the club in his retirement for 15 years as a boot boy. So after that England shame, he shined the leathers of World Cup heroes, but also of those players that we're celebrating tonight, who remember him as a friend. And he was such a humble man that he didn't even tell them that he was a professional footballer. They didn't know until long after he left the club, in fact long after he passed away. So one thing that led to the campaign was I wrote this song called The Ballad of Jack Leslie. So. Football legend, second to none, Jack Leslie came to Devon, 1921, from Barking in Essex. It's a different time, but did he get stick from all sides? Well, I'm sure it would have happened wherever he played, but he came to Plymouth Argyle. And he stayed, a wizard in defence or attack, was called up for England. They sent him back, 'cause they'd not seen a picture of young Jack, and he never got to play, because he was black. Imagine how it felt when his gaffer, Bob Jack, said, "Son, it's time to pack your boot bag. Your country is calling. Young lion roar. They'll see something they've never seen before." But when the national team sheet was displayed, no mention of Jack Leslie's name, no fuss. He just went back to Argyle, scored 137 goals. Then retired, that wizard in defence or attack, was called up for England. They sent him back, 'cause they'd not seen a picture of young Jack, and he never got to play, because he was black. Many years after Jack hung up his boots, he returned to his ironclad East London roots. Ron Greenwood said, "Jack, is that Jack on the line? Bobby Moore and the lad's leathers must shine." So his later years weren't spent at rest, kitting out Coker, Charles and Clyde Best, World Cup heroes and bowling ground greats. But to them, Jack Leslie, he was just a mate who didn't boast or complain of that Three Lions shame. Never even told them that he played like a wizard in defence or attack, was called up for England. They sent him back, 'cause they'd not seen a picture of young Jack, who never got to play, because he was black. No, Jack Leslie never got his cap. So think on how far we progressed since that young lad was denied his England vest. 53 years later, before Viv Anderson got his call, and think of how far. So reflect on what Viv and his peers endured. Would you wonder if Paddy Coker, Clive Charles and John Charles and Clyde Best deserved a bit more respect?